What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed below or directly at WiseTake.com if you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out. Day passes only $2.50. And this is the last day to do it, right? We got the All-Star break coming up, last slate before the All-Star break. So go check us out. You get access to our projections, my projections, cheat sheets, Paulie D's Fast Break, my Core Plays article, and of course our pre-lock live stream, which we do 45 minutes prior to lock, taking you up until lock. So go check us out. Again, last slate before the All-Star break. I think everybody could use a little bit of a break, and it'll be the last break we get for a little while because baseball's right around the corner. We'll have some overlap. It's going to be just overload for us at the Nation, but we're excited about it. That being said, if you're new to this channel, welcome. Came to the right place for some free fire DFS content. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss out on any of the free content we put out. Hit the like button, leave some comments. I love interacting and hearing from y'all. Most importantly, if you guys could share the show, really helps us out. Sharing is big. It will allow us to grow, and the more we grow, the more we can put into our products, specifically our free content. So please help us out and spread the nation. Make it bigger. Help it grow. Okay, so we've got a lot of teams here on back-to-backs. This is the last game prior to the All-Star break once again, and we saw Wednesday's slate was pretty crazy, right? LeBron sat, Luka sat, just a bunch of people sat. So I think that we should expect something similar. We have some teams on back-to-backs. There are some teams that maybe have no choice. Teams like Toronto, who had like 4 days off, and they just got destroyed by Detroit. That was crazy. But are missing some bodies, right, due to COVID, due to health protocols, if you will. So we're going to go through and do what we do and try to figure this thing out on the early look. We'll start off with Toronto and Boston. Speak of the devil. So we mentioned Toronto. They're missing Siakam, no Van Fleet. We're assuming these guys are still out. OG, right? Starting with the Toronto side specifically, Kyle Lowry's 8.4 on DraftKings. He is 8.5 on FanDuel. Didn't quite get there, but had the usage to do it. I think he would have played more minutes had the game stayed close. Unfortunately, it didn't. They just got destroyed. Norman Powell's price is up to 7.4. Now we're at a point now where we have to consider it. He was a plug and play for me at 6.8 on FanDuel and in the 6. 7K on DraftKings is not bad, but it is a bigger slate. Either way, shooters do well against Boston. Does the back-to-back affect these guys? And maybe not, because number one, they did get blown out. And number two, they are coming off of having 4 days off due to the COVID stuff. So maybe it's okay after all. But Toronto, we'll have to keep an eye on their ownership. OG Anunoby came off the bench, and he did just fine. I'd be willing to go back to him against a team that usually struggles against bigs. And Terrence Davis at 4,500 on DraftKings. They've raised his price. 3.7 on FanDuel. We'll have to see how many minutes he actually ended up playing. But if we need the value, we got guys like him and Yuta Watanabe and all these guys. But I'm not crazy about any of them, really. It's really the main three of Boucher, Powell, and Lowry. On the Boston side, Tatum's fine. His matchup, him and Jaylen Brown's matchup just got awesome because they're missing, like I said, Van Fleet, Siakam, OG, a lot of their better defenders. So the matchups for these guys is awesome. And Kemba's been playing really well. So definitely a game to consider. Toronto, last year this would be like a playoff matchup. This year Toronto looks terrible. And even without missing those guys, they've not looked as good, right? Clippers and Washington. Immediately when you think about these teams, you might be thinking like, oh, the Clippers are significantly better, which they are over the long run. But Washington's red hot right now. They're red hot, and they are at home. Kawhi Leonard missed the last game unexpectedly, right? I don't think anybody really knew that was coming with his back. We'll see if he plays. Phenomenal matchup for the Clippers. They're paced up. Paul George is still way too cheap on FanDuel at 7.9. 8.6 is probably a little too cheap. At 7.9 is definitely too cheap. Bradley Beal, going to have his hands full. Going to be put to the test but he's just been really good. Against Memphis, he was kind of held in check a little bit for his standards. Russell Westbrook, however, went out and did that dirt. But he's going to draw some Patrick Beverley defense. So I kind of want to consider Bradley Beal again. But either way, it should be an interesting spot. I could tell you that the Clippers side obviously looks way more interesting. If we get Kawhi out again, then obviously Paul George becomes one of the top plays on the slate. But he's still a good player regardless. You got Hachimura and Bertans. These are all guys you can consider, right? But there's nobody that stands out a ton. I don't hate the idea of Patrick Beverley. I think he'll get a lot of minutes because of the matchup he has against Westbrook. Interesting game nonetheless. We've got Detroit and New York. New York coming off a pretty bad loss. All this hype about them and pathetic. Detroit on a back-to-back. Julius Randle obviously is the most stable Knick at the moment. Didn't do so great against San Antonio, but his whole team just kind of sucked, and he didn't get the minutes that we all anticipated him getting. Jeremy Grant sat out this game. We'll have to see if he plays. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more of like we have a back-to-back. The All-Star break's coming up, so we'll play one game, rest you another. Plumlee, man, this is a really good spot for Plumlee. I don't love taking bigs on a back-to-back, but it is a really good spot for Plumlee. Plumlee did not do so well against the Knicks last time out, but it is a good spot. Derrick Rose missed because of health protocol. Damn, the grind is real. He's questionable currently. If he's in, love Derrick Rose because we expect him to have massive usage. How much is Rose on? 5.9 on DraftKings, way too cheap. But if he gets ruled out, obviously, I'm going right to my man Quickly. Simple as that. Where's Quickly at? Quickly is 5.1 on FanDuel. Quickly is 5.3 on DraftKings. So obviously he's a fine player regardless, but a lot more volatile minutes wise. We definitely want Rose out to really be strong on him. We'd expect Frank Nitti to get the start like last time, but we know Quickly's going to get a decent amount of minutes off the bench, and when he's coming off the bench, he's going to shoot a lot. Elf, I believe, is doubtful. Yeah. Burks is okay in that scenario. Now, Dennis Smith Jr. and Saban Lee both played really well against Toronto. So maybe we should put more of an emphasis on Kemba Walker. I'm okay with him, but I do think that Frank Nitti is going to get some time, and he's actually a decent defender. It's like all he really does. Josh Jackson missed with illness. That was a big blow to Detroit. You would have thought, but they still got the job done. We can consider him. Actually, a lot of plays here. It's worth noting, FanDuel did move Nerlens Noel to center. So no more power forward getting an extra center. They moved him to center. Something to keep in mind. We'll see how the injury news breaks out then. Denver, Indiana. Mr. TJ McConnell broke the slate, man. Was like 0.8% owned in the donkey on FanDuel. Went for 71 because he had 9 steals. And in addition to a good game, fucking ridiculous. Just ridiculous the variance that happens. A guy like that break a slate, like it's craziness. But shout out to those of you who did play him. I don't mean to sound bitter, but I kind of am. Jokic is okay. Not a great spot for bigs necessarily because Indiana is a big team. I do like Sabonis. But I mean, every day we kind of like Sabonis, and lately he's been really disappointing. But I do like Sabonis. Without Millsap, Denver not nearly as good at defending the rim. Normally we'd say Brogdon's a good defender, blah 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 blah, but he has been shit lately. So we saw Sexton just go out there and drop big numbers on him. So yeah, I'm good with Jamal Murray as well. He's 8K on FanDuel, 8.5 on DraftKings is on that point. He's not like a lock or anything like that, but you're interested. Keep in mind, teams have been going nuts against Denver. I've been saying it. Cleveland did it. Against Indiana. The Pacers' defense is not anywhere near where it was last year. They're getting just torched by opposing offenses. So in my mind, I'm trying to give like a little mini boost to all these guys. Michael Porter Jr. is fine. I don't love when his price is in the 6s. He's always up there on DraftKings. But I don't know. Will Barton is typically cheaper. Will Barton is 5.6 and 5.5. So I prefer Will Barton because he's cheaper. Is the usage is high? No. But his minutes have looked really good with all the injuries that Denver's been dealing with. Here's TJ McConnell. How many people are going to chase with him? They got his log up here. 36 minutes, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 13 assists, 10 steals. My man had a triple-double with steals. Fucked up. Monte Morris is okay. You know the usual with these other, McDermott and Holiday and all these guys. It's fine. But this is an interesting game. I don't want to write it off, right? Milwaukee and Memphis. though Memphis is just not a good team. You get a little nervous about things like that, playing a team like Milwaukee, but they are home. Giannis, obviously one of the top players on the slate always because he's just a beast. Holiday is back, so Middleton is no longer in that territory. I think he's overpriced on DraftKings at 8-4 at this point. John Morant with Drew Holiday defense does not sound enticing, but the usage has been massive for him. Decent spot for Joe Val, but dude just can't stay out of foul trouble lately. It's been a disaster. Dylan Brooks is hit or miss. If he's hitting his shots, it could be a good spot, but Milwaukee doesn't encourage 3-point shots, but Dylan Brooks is very inconsistent. It could be a good game for Winslow, especially if this game does get ugly. He got into a little bit of foul trouble at the beginning of the game last time, and that kind of limited what he was trying to do. You would have thought he would have got more opportunity with Kyle Anderson out, but wasn't the case. Looks like Kyle Anderson is no longer on the injury report, so he should be coming back. That could definitely help the Memphis side a little bit, but it's hard to gauge with Memphis. The prices aren't bad, but the matchup is kind of tough. Milwaukee is a team that's decent defensively, even though they play fast, and they encourage a lot of 3-point shooting, but they don't have a ton of. Memphis doesn't have a ton of reliable 3-point shooters, so there's some more reaction there. Portis and blowout builds all day. Miami and New Orleans. I know it's a back-to-back for New Orleans. Jimmy Butler is questionable. I'd be surprised if he came back and played at this point. I would be. Bam Adebayo's questionable. We'll see if he ends up playing. Had a terrible game against Atlanta. Terrible. If Bam misses, this is a boost. It's a boost for Zion and Adams and all these guys. Zion's price remains high. We'll see if he kind of gets there. Looks like he was kind of floundering a little bit against Chicago. Didn't do as well as we thought, despite an excellent start. Brandon Ingram's okay. If Butler is out, that's an upgrade to his matchup. And if Butler's out, we want to be looking at some of these Miami guards. Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic. Nunn did not play well against Atlanta the second go around. He's a little more scoring dependent than Dragic. Speaking of Dragic, why can't I find this motherfucker? How cheap is he? 5-4 for Dragic. So if Butler's out, I'll go right back to Dragic. Point guards have been doing the dirty to New Orleans, so consider him or none. But I prefer Dragic always. At least maybe now, for the time being, anyway. That could change. Kelly Olynyk would be a phenomenal value play if Bam were to get ruled out. So keep an eye out on that. Other than that, it's just like okay. It's just okay, right? Nothing that stands out a ton. Tyler Hero obviously would be an option. Right, a little bit better that second game. Still not quite where we want him, but he missed a lot of time. Give him some time. OKC San Antonio. It's a back-to-back for OKC as well. San Antonio and had a little time off after they were another team that was hit bad by the COVID bug. LMA is questionable. He missed the last game with a last-minute illness. Keldon Johnson did come back and make his return after missing time with health protocol, but he only played 10 minutes in a game that ultimately blew out. Still no Derek White. Still no Rudy Gay. No Hamidou Diallo on the other side. So we're still missing some pieces. DeJounte Murray's price is kind of out of control. OKC does play at a very slow pace as well. But if people are efficient, obviously that's how they get there. SGA on DraftKings is kind of crazy at 9K. But at 8-2, he's still within our reach. It's a pretty good spot for Jakob Poeltl, especially if LaMarcus Aldridge gets ruled out. I think that'll solidify his minutes a little bit more. And OKC's been trash against centers. That's the bottom line. On the flip side, Horford at 5'8" is not bad, but we'll see if he plays. He's been sitting on a lot of back-to-backs, so if he were to miss, then I think I would be compelled to go back to Mr. Isaiah Roby, even though he seems to always bust as chalk. You can see it's when he's not chalk that he seems to kind of put those good games together. But we consider him, right, at least a bit. At least a bit. And then there's always your Dort's. Dort is 3,900. That's a little too cheap. Ty Jerome's been getting some action. That could be why. And then you got Muscala, who is power forward eligible. Throw his name in the hat. Lyles, I forgot about Lyles. They raised his price. That's not cool. Don't love that price tag. Lonnie Walker's price is up too. Don't love that either. Sacramento, Portland, both these teams are on a back-to-back. Obviously, good spot for Dame, good spot for Fox. I mean, we could see those guys kind of go at it. Tyrese Halliburton's still expected to be out, I believe. Harrison Barnes has been balling, but I would assume he draws some Covington, though they could put Covington on Bagley. Either way, Portland, between Derrick Jones Jr. and Covington, has some decent little defenders in there. They're not as bad as against the scoring forwards as they used to be. Interesting spot for Holmes and Bagley. I say interesting because it's hard to really gauge what a good matchup is for those guys anymore. They seem to trade off a lot. This is like a game that you like, but you don't really know where to attack it from. Right? That's kind of how I feel. Melo's shown some tremendous upside, but it kind of seemed, like a rhythm kind of thing. But Melo's obviously in play. Derrick Jones Jr.'s price has come up. I'm assuming that means he's played well. Not well enough to deserve. Well, I guess he had a little streak going for a little while. But yeah, it's a game, like I said, that you feel like it's going to be good, right? But you don't really know where to attack it from. Right now, the guards are the standouts. Fox and Lillard. No surprise there. Golden State Phoenix. It is a back-to-back for Golden State. Phoenix has been good, man. They've looked good. Steph Curry's okay. I like that he's under 10K. We'll have to see what they do, this being everybody's last game before the break. Booker's cheap. He got ejected last game. He was on pace. He was about to destroy the Lakers. 23 minutes, had 35.6 FanDuel points, and then he got ejected. If you do think that the Golden State game stays close, then Draymond Green's got to be in consideration, because it seems like when his team plays in close games, he goes off. Chris Paul, I thought he would have had a lot more once Booker got ejected, but he just didn't have to. His teammates were making all these shots. He really didn't have to do much. Did get 10 assists. That was good to see. Talked about Draymond. Kelly Oubre did miss this game, so keep an eye out on him. He has a wrist injury. I wouldn't be surprised if he missed one more just because we're going into the break. Dario Saric, man, he was getting some decent minutes. I don't know if that was matchup related, but he was getting a lot of time out there. Lakers didn't really have an answer for him. I would think that Draymond would be a much better defender on him. Jay Crowder's really cheap at 4,300. And you know what? I wish Wiseman was getting... Well, Wiseman got 25 minutes against the Lakers. That was good to see. The game was a blowout, but I would like to see this kid get more run. 4,500 is a little bit cheap. More of a DraftKings deal. He's 4-2 over there. I like that. All right, we'll see what happens with Oubre, because I think Bazemore started for him on Wednesday night. We'll have to see. Interesting slate. Not nearly as chaotic so far as what we saw on Wednesday night, but still a pretty decent number of games, right? Exactly how many are there? There's 9. So anything can happen. It's the last game before the break, so you can see guys sit, guys get some extra rest, all that good shit. We'll have to see. That's going to do it. Please hit the like button on your way out. Don't forget to check us out at WiseTake.com. If you're into cards, if you want trading cards, sports cards, MLB, NBA, NFL, and you're into breaks, or even if you're not, if you're just into personals, you want to see us, want to see somebody, like you want to buy some packs or something and watch them open them up on camera and ship them to you, check us out. Our Facebook group right now is the best way. We do have a website, but we're not maintaining it as well as we should be, card-breakers.com. But if you go to Facebook, if you're a member of Facebook, you can join the Facebook group for free. It's Card Breakers, and give it a join. Tell them I sent you, and we'll get you up in there. And there's some really cheap prices for cards, and they're hard for people to get their hands on these days. That being said, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, I appreciate y'all as always. Enjoy your break, and good luck.